I'm Jonathan, this is Krista, and we're here to help you be a better landlord. All right, Krista, so today we are talking credit scores. They rule our lives, and most of us don't understand them. So let's start with, what is a credit score?
A credit score is a 3-digit number between 300 and 850. Inherently, it's a way for creditors to understand how likely it is that you, as a consumer, are going to pay them back if they give you money. So it's a way to assess your creditworthiness with a fun numeric score.
Yeah, okay, and they're very important.
They are critically important. Even though they haven't been around that long, you've really seen them take off in terms of lending practices, getting a house, getting a fancy car. Whatever you need, your credit score is probably going to be involved if it's a big purchase.
Okay, and what goes into calculating a credit score?
So each of the 3 credit bureaus has their own proprietary formula for credit scores. Very fun and fresh for the consumer because you don't actually understand what's going into it. But there are a few critical factors at play. So they're going to be looking at the number of open accounts you have and the types of accounts that you have, how much debt you've accrued overall, your total repayment history, and the length of your credit history. So the goal is to have minimal debt, a really long credit history, and a very solid repayment history.
Gotcha. And if somebody doesn't like their credit score, if they want it to be higher, what are things that they can do to make that higher?
So traditional methods for raising your credit score are going to take some time. The very first thing you should do if you are a renter is sign up for rent reporting. You can sign up at TurboTenant.com, ask your landlord to start collecting rent through TurboTenant or logging your rent payments. We report all of your on-time payments to TransUnion, effectively letting you leverage your biggest monthly bill toward building credit history.
Yeah, that's awesome. And if somebody doesn't have rent reporting, they're still paying their rent every month, that's not actually building any credit, right, by itself?
No, it's just money that you are giving over for a place to live, but it's not really working for you. Whereas if you leverage rent reporting, you can actually start to build that credit history, which can boost your credit score.
Awesome. And for the landlords out there, why should they want their tenants doing rent reporting?
Any incentive to have a renter pay rent on time is going to be a win for the landlord, right? So if your renter understands that they are getting a direct benefit from making this monthly payment on time, why not encourage them to do it?
Yeah. A question we get a lot about rent reporting is it only the on-time payments that are reported?
Yes. So with TurboTenant, only your on-time rent payments are reported, which means there is very minimal risk to you as the renter. So I would sign up today, personally speaking.
Yeah, absolutely. Outside of rent reporting, what are some other methods to boost your credit score?
Sure, these ones might take a little bit longer, but still very worthwhile. First and foremost, you've got to pay your bills on time. So typically at least 6 months of consecutive on-time payments will increase your credit score. Additionally, you want to be sure that if you're in good standing, you ask for a credit line increase without spending the increased amount. So you want to keep your debts minimal, but if you have more to spend, it looks better because you minimize your total debt usage.
Yeah.
Right? Additionally, you can work with a credit repair company. You'd pay them money. They will help try and rehabilitate your credit score. But again, that's an investment. You're paying more money to do it versus something like rent reporting, which allows you to build that credit history without incurring additional debt.
Awesome. Okay, let's talk about a few things that can harm your credit, and are they worth it? Like buy now, pay later programs.
Ooh, please avoid those. Absolutely do not do that. That is going to really come back to bite you in a very unpleasant way. Those programs tend to have predatory interest rates, and so even if you think you're getting a good deal up front, you will be paying handsomely at the end, and likely it's going to be money that you don't have. That's usually a trap that people fall into, and it actually tanks their credit score.
Yeah. What about paycheck advance services?
Similar deal. Again, always look at those interest rates when you hear about a deal that's too good to be true, because oftentimes it is. And they can really start to skyrocket. Highly do not recommend. Anti-recommend.
Anti-recommend.
Yeah.
Okay. What about credit cards?
They're great. If you pay them off, I would...
If you pay them off.
Yes, I'd say treat a credit card like a debit card whenever possible, because making on-time payments and carrying a $0 balance can help you increase your credit score over time.
Yeah. So if somebody is paying rent through TurboTenant, they can pay by ACH, debit card, or credit card. Can they do rent reporting if they're paying by credit card?
Absolutely. So no matter how you're paying rent through TurboTenant, you can enroll in rent reporting. Easy peasy.
Awesome. Okay, and at the top of this episode, you were talking about what goes into a credit score. A lot of that involved the word history. So what if somebody is younger or just doesn't have a credit score or a low credit score? How do we, how can they navigate that?
Sure, if you are a landlord and you are looking at a potential applicant who has no or a low credit score, there are a couple of different factors that I want you to keep in mind. One, you should have a defined process for tenant screening, so specific criteria for what you're looking for regarding their credit score. However, if they meet the rest of your criteria, but the credit score is the only mitigating factor, I would encourage you to consider their circumstances. Maybe they are a really new renter, they're 18, 19, this is their first rental. They could be an older renter where they just haven't had a credit history for a little bit of time, or they could be an international applicant. So you can actually establish additional parameters for these kind of niche cases. Stick to those. You're going to want to ensure that you have either a guarantor or a cosigner for your peace of mind to make sure that the rent is getting paid.
That makes sense. Awesome. All right, well, thanks for talking credit scores. If you out there have any other tips for people looking to boost their credit score, leave them in the comments below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.